Hey, marketing leads aren't the issue. It's what happens after the lead comes in. Let's talk today about the real reasons your franchisees aren't converting and what you can do about it. Stick around.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profits Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Schin.
Hey, welcome back to Franchise Pitfalls and Profits, the podcast that helps you uncover the hidden gaps that stall performance and shows you how to build smarter, how to build stronger franchise systems, and how to do it the right way. Welcome back again. This is another episode in the series that I'm doing very specifically on hidden gaps, where we're really unpacking the real reasons, the deeper reasons that nobody else is talking about as to why franchisee performance is getting stuck. Even when on the surface level, it looks like their metrics are pretty solid, even when they exhibit that they know your system and they're operating it quite well. But the model isn't getting them where they can get, both individually as well as the potential that your system has. So again, I'm Don Schin. I'm your host. Today, we're diving into a very specific conversation that's going to step in and step on a few toes. But I'm going to do this in a kind and professional and good way. So if you're the franchisor and you're kind of frustrated with lackluster results of some of your units, I often have been talking about that middle 30 to 40% of your franchise system. You all know you have them. The franchisees are convinced that your marketing just isn't working. Well, that could be your whole bottom, say 70%. But we're going to talk about what's really going on. And in particular, again, this is going to be a hidden gap that really impacts not your top 20% and not your bottom 20%. It's that middle 35, 40 or so percent that really has a lot more potential than they're actually realizing. But let me first bring you up to date. Let's go over what's been going on in this whole hidden gaps series. The first episode, I talked very specifically about the 5 gaps that we're going to be talking about. And then we started to dig into them. And the first one we talked about were unit economics blind spots, how franchisors often miss the real costs to ramp up and sustain a profitable individual unit. And then we discussed leadership gaps. This is a really big one. And I highlighted the fact that the leadership gaps are inside the 4 walls of your units, of your franchisees. And we talked about how weak team leadership quite often quietly erodes their performance or keeps a lid on their performance, keeps them kind of stagnant. And then the next episode, we talked about sales skills that you as franchisors and really no one in the franchise industry are teaching, at least not in the context of your franchise and your system. It's often done on the outside or maybe at a conference here or there, but you're not intentionally teaching these sales skills. And again, it's holding back the performance of your units, and it's holding back your royalty growth, and it's holding back most likely your unit sales, your growth of your system and the number of franchisees you have. So now today we're going to step in very specifically on one single sales issue that I see a lot. My team and I are seeing a lot. It's where marketing really isn't the problem. You know, the unit is getting, they're getting people to talk to, they're getting prospects to talk to. So marketing is doing its job, but the truth is marketing's not the problem, conversion is. And we're going to break that down today. So again, we're looking very specifically at one niche piece which could dramatically change the results that some of your units are getting. So the easy target. So let's dive in. The easy target is always going to be blame marketing. When results are down or leads aren't buying or aren't converting, what's the first thing that most of your franchisees blame? Corporate or the marketing department, or the leads are low quality, or you're not spending enough money, or this marketing stuff that corporate's coming up with doesn't work in my area. If that sounds familiar, put a comment in the link. Say, yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, we see that sometimes. If it sounds familiar and you've heard it before, again, give me a thumbs up in the comments section. But here's the problem. Franchisees often assume that a lead who doesn't buy wasn't a good lead. Let me say that again very specifically. Franchisees often assume that a lead that didn't buy or buy right away just isn't a good lead. But in many cases, the lead was simply never converted. And that's not a marketing issue. Well, it might be. Quality leads are important and marketing has a responsibility in that. But generally speaking, that's a sales issue. That is a follow-up issue. That's a big one. Unit owners, franchisees struggle with following up on their sales leads. And then the third piece of this we're going to talk about is that sometimes your franchisees in their local community, they just don't quite understand their local customer. So we're going to talk about all of these things. We're going to see how this plays out. But I have come across volumes and volumes of brands and industries, and franchisors invest in smart marketing strategies, and they deliver, generally speaking, again, they deliver pretty good leads, but it's the conversion that is weak. And that tells you it's not a quality of lead issue. It's what's happening next. It's what's happening after that lead lands in your local unit, your local franchise owner. So let's talk about what I think are the three biggest conversion gaps. Again, we're talking about conversion rate. We're talking about conversion, the steps after somebody gets a lead from marketing. What are the three biggest gaps? That's what I want to talk about. I want to unpack these gaps and look inside the franchise units when it comes to converting the leads. So the first gap, I think, is that they don't have a sales process, or it's broken, or they just operated inconsistently. Many franchisees, they're just not repeating what works. They're winging it. Some greet a lead very enthusiastically. Others are indifferent. They're just like the last person who came in here and didn't buy. And a lot of times it's follow-up that they just don't do. If you can't map out your customer journey and know exactly what happens from the first touch or contact to the sale, then you've got a hidden gap in the sales process. If you, as the franchisor, if you're a franchisor listening and you want to be candid and transparent and do some self-reflection here, it could be due to you not being clear when you first train your franchise owners. Do you teach that there really is a process? Do you have them track? Do you show them how to track their numbers? And if you do, then it's an execution issue in the unit. And again, I'm going to talk a little bit about that more in a moment. But are you, as the franchisors, teaching a repeatable process? The second biggest gap in this conversion challenge is poor or non-existent follow-up. or sometimes it's just lack of discipline, lack of even recognition at the unit level that they should follow up, lack of recognition that how much it's really hurting their overall business. Too many franchisees assume that if a customer didn't buy right away, then they probably weren't serious, and the franchisee, the owner, moves on to somebody else. But in reality, most local buyers, they need a few days. They need a few reminders. They need a number of touches. I've heard they need anywhere from 6 to as many as 22 touches before they will commit to a sale. So here's what's missing in this particular gap. There's no structured callback plan. There's no automated system. That'll help a lot if you can have a CRM that either emails some follow-up or texts some follow-up. There's also no consistent tracking of their customer inquiries. Oh, we got a bunch of these things in, we did something with it, and it's gone. It's missing. And this is especially true in service. This particular gap, number 2, is especially true in service-based businesses or appointment-driven franchise concepts. A lot of times with organically generated leads, ones where people can just ask for information or they sign up in some fashion on the website, the initial inquiry gets responded to in most cases, but then it gets forgotten if the person didn't buy or wasn't converted. But customers often choose the business that follows up, not necessarily the one that contacted them first or the quickest. Franchisees don't need to become full-time salespeople, but they do need to build a simple system that makes following up a daily rhythm. Sometimes like what we teach, which is a default calendar concept or system, scheduling time to create that habit or that discipline of follow-up, being sure so many hours a week is spent on following up those great leads that you're spending so much marketing dollars on. Otherwise, warm leads go cold, and it looks like a marketing problem. And you're going to be, wow, why isn't marketing? We're spending all these marketing dollars. Why aren't we making more money? When again, it's really a conversion discipline issue. And then the third gap here on this point about conversion is that there's a lack of understanding locally what your customers are really needing and buying locally. Franchisees often rely on the brand's marketing, and that's good, but they don't take the time to truly understand their local audience and connect the dots properly. What do customers in their individual communities care about? What are their pain points? What do they talk about as their needs? What motivates them to buy? The franchisor isn't doing anything wrong, and I'm not saying that the unit's owners should go off on a tangent. But what they need to do is connect the dots. They need to see how to apply specifically the franchisor's proven marketing, how to make that work in their local communities. There could be tweaks or just nuances, or they just need to smooth it out in a way that better relates to their local community. So if a franchisee can't answer these questions, they're likely missing the mark on how they speak to and sell to and convert in their local community. So the conversion math that franchisees don't often see is kind of like right out there in front of it. So let's say a unit gets 100 leads a month from corporate marketing, but the franchisee only really follows up on about 40 of them. And this is usual, okay? And then out of those 40, they only have a solid conversion to a conversation with 10 of them. And then maybe 2 of those 10 actually sell. So what's the real issue here? What's the real math? What are the real numbers here? It's not a lead generation problem. It's a conversion discipline challenge. That franchisee could have doubled or tripled their sales just by increasing the follow-up rate and improving just a little bit on their conversion techniques. They do not have, and you as the franchisor would not have to spend a single extra dollar generating more leads or on marketing. So let me repeat this, because if you take nothing else away from today's episode, if you get this one point right, this is the real gold in your franchise system and the real single easy way that you can help your units perform better. So here it is again. The franchisee could double or triple their sales just by increasing their follow-up rate and improving a little bit on their conversion techniques without spending any extra money on marketing. That's why we built Franchise Foundations of Success program. It's to help franchisees see for themselves, get trained on the right behaviors, and close the gap between traffic and lead generation and quality transactions and actually converting. So some franchisees think sales is sleazy, but it's not. Sales and follow-up is actually a high level of customer service before the customer service actually kicks in, before someone's actually bought. Many franchisees resist quote unquote selling because they associate it with pressure, with being pushy. They connect it with just something being cold and transactional. They bring their own sales biases into their own business and into how they promote, how they sell, and for what's going on in their business. And that's a terrible thing to do because it dramatically hurts their own businesses. In fact, again, this is something we teach in the foundations, the Franchise Foundations for Success program. We get very local in how we sell. We talk very much about community, and we talk very much about personal communication skill sets and what are we bringing into our own businesses that's hurting our sales. Anyway, don't want to get off track, but that's one of the things we put into the FFS program. Great sales isn't about convincing someone. It's about serving someone. Again, it's providing a high level of customer service even before they're a customer. It's about identifying what their customer needs are, helping them say yes to a solution that the franchisee provides that's going to change the person's life or patterns or make their life easier. As my friend and well-known author often has said, Jeffrey Gitomer, sales is professionally helping people buy. And if you can get that mindset into your franchise owners, it's going to make it a lot easier for them to do what they need to do to improve the performance of their units. When franchisees understand and make this mind shift, everything else shifts. Follow-up becomes simply customer service. Asking questions becomes natural. Confidence grows, and so do their conversions, and so does their unit economics, their unit performance. So what can you do if you're a franchisor listening to this? What can you do now? If you're listening to this, you might be thinking, okay, Don, I get it, but How do I fix this across 30 units? How do I fix this across 100 units? So I'm going to give you 3 things that you can start to do immediately. So get out your pads and pens and jot them down. And then again, give me some comments in the section, in the comment sections here. If you have questions, or candidly, if you like something of one of these 3, comment into the sections, into the comment sections, and let me know what you're thinking. But I'm going to give you 3 takeaways, 3 things to do now. One is audit your sales process, or sometimes called your sales journey. Look at what's actually happening when a lead comes into a local unit. Have a friend or a neighbor secret shop it. Years ago, my wife used to work for a personnel staffing, short-term assignment staffing, and Ford Motor Company was auditing, secret shopping their dealerships. And she knew I loved cars, and I could do it at night after my regular job. And it was a whole lot of fun. But it was amazing to see the difference in how different dealerships handled this sales journey, if you will. You want to be tracking the touch points. Most brands who do this audit, do this review, don't call it an audit with your franchisees, they're going to flip out, but just this review of the sales journey or process, franchisors are shocked by how the inconsistency from unit to unit that they experience. So that's number one thing you can do immediately. Second thing you can do immediately is train your franchisees on what I call these local sales skills. What we do in the FFS program, the Franchise Foundations for Success program, is a very different type of sales training. Don't assume your franchisees know how to sell in general. Many of them come from non-sales backgrounds. The teacher who opens up a child enrichment franchise, the nurse who opens up a senior care franchise, or opens up a health and wellness hydration therapy concept. These people need more structure. They need more scripts. They need specific training and ongoing support and coaching, especially in that follow-up. It is just not natural. If you've not been trained in sales, it's not natural to realize you have to follow up. You have to have a high number of interactions or touches. You have to know how to handle questions. Sometimes people call those objections. I like to think of them as your prospect's mind trying to work through to say yes, how this can work for them, how this can be the solution that they're actually looking for. But non-sales trained people don't get these things. And so you need to be very specific with your training. And I like to say, again, local selling skills, not hardcore sales tactic stuff, local community sales type training and skills. And then the third piece you can do immediately is measure your conversions, not just the number of leads that are coming into your process or your funnel, but measure conversion. And I was pretty crazy about measuring this in my master franchise sales. So we had 5 major critical points that we measured, but you need to measure something because nothing can be improved if you're not measuring it. So track at a very minimum the conversion rates. How many leads were delivered that actually purchased? That's a great starting point. But again, many franchisees don't even know to measure it, and honestly, sometimes even those that know they should measure it aren't. So be sure they're measuring conversion rates at a minimum, your leads in and your sales. But if you've got, and you should have critical points in the touches and in this journey, sales journey, it's important to measure the conversion rates on those as well. And again, this is why the FFS program exists. It's to give franchisors a way to help strengthen their franchisee performance from the inside out, fundamentally, with tactical training, real executable training but simple things, not again in sales, not hardcore sales things, but actually things that a local franchisee, a local unit can do to improve their local performance. So, let me speak directly. If you're a franchisee watching this, and I hope there are some, let me address you specifically. If you are relying on your brand's marketing team to make sales for you, you are missing the point. Marketing opens doors, but you have to walk through that door and make the connection and make the conversion. You're not just a franchise owner. You're really still, even if you have a sales team or a salesperson, you are still the chief revenue officer for your local business. So know your community, own your follow-up, or again, if you have a if you have a salesperson in your franchise, be sure they're following up. Be sure they have time on their calendar that's scheduled to do follow-up. Again, our FFS program teaches this. You should also, franchise owner, chief revenue officer, you need to master your conversations. How do you do that? You practice it. This has become a big part of our FFS program. We give them time in our sessions to practice their conversations. We've also created a technology platform that allows them to practice on their own. We never even have to see it. If they want us to see it, we can see it. But if they want, you'd be shocked at how you can self-critique by recording it using our technology platform, watching yourself do the conversations. You'll self-diagnose and self-improve without anything else. But you need to recognize that you have to master your own conversations. All right, so final takeaways, final action steps, whether you're a franchisee or franchisor, I want to give you 3 key takeaways. First of all, out of all of this today, recognize marketing most likely isn't the problem. Marketing is responsible for some of the quality of the leads, but in most cases, what we find is conversion discipline is the issue. Second thing is at unit level, success depends more on what happens after the lead comes in, after the lead arrives, than how the lead was actually generated. So again, marketing's not the problem. And then the third thing, which is good news, these are gaps that are fixable. If you're the franchisor, you can support your people with the right training programs. If you're the franchisee, go out and get a little bit of extra help. But if you only measure, train, and coach, only if you measure, train, and then coach your franchisees, it's the only way this is going to be fixed. But again, the good news is all of these things are very fixable, particularly for your middle 30 to 40% of your network, because these are good people. They've chosen the right brand. You've recruited them well, but it's very, very important. Very, very important that they get all of what they need in order to be successful. All right. So, let me just wrap up here, folks. So if you're the franchisor, if you're tired of marketing being blamed, you've got some things today now to look at, to immediately implement, and then to start working toward equipping your franchisees with the tools that are going to help them convert. Again, it's why we built the FFS program. So it's not just about training, though, it's about getting traction. And again, if you're curious as to how the FFS program and Franchise Building Expert can help you, all you need to go to our website, franchisebuildingexpert.com, go to the Contact Us section and ask for information about the FFS program. All right, so we want to thank you for tuning in. If this episode hits home, again, I encourage you to ask questions. Please make comments about how this has benefited you. Put them in the comment section. Let's stop blaming marketing for all the problems, and let's start building better conversion systems and habits and disciplines. And again, if you want to find out more, go to our website and our contact us section. If you're getting overall value from here, please like and subscribe. Like the episodes, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And before I close, I always like to leave you with the heart behind everything I do. Franchising isn't just about systems and sales. We train a lot on those things, but it's really about people stepping into ownership. Business ownership mindset is really the difference. Building businesses that affect families. There's a family on every side of an FA, franchise agreement. So we're about helping families build wealth. We're about new franchise units helping in their communities to build their communities and the futures of the people that they employ, the employment opportunities they put together. Behind every franchise agreement are stories that matter. My work is rooted in a very simple belief. If we equip people with the right foundations, leaderships, sales, financial literacy, good decision-making capabilities, good planning and execution, we don't just build better, bigger businesses, but we're building legacies. Mine is driven also by my faith. In the book of Acts in the Bible, it says that now when King David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep or he died. That's my purpose too, to serve well in my generation, to create an impact that not only reaches my children and my grandchildren, but my grandchildren's grandchildren. All along the way, giving God all the glory. And again, that is why I do what I do the way I do it. Thanks so much for joining us.